Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at karma yoga, and specifically through the lens of the Bhagavad Gita. Have you heard of it?
Oh, absolutely. It's such a rich text full of insights.
Yeah, I find that even if you're not, super familiar with the Gita, you can still get a lot out of it.
Right. I think it speaks to something very universal in the human experience.
So imagine, like you're a warrior on a battlefield, right?
Okay.
And you're facing this impossible choice. Duty versus like your deepest personal attachments.
A classic dilemma.
That's the heart of the Bhagavad Gita.
The core conflict, yeah.
And in this deep dive, we're going to extract the wisdom of karma yoga.
Interesting word choice. Extract.
Well, yeah, because it's like this gem hidden within this epic story.
It really is. And it's not just about the story itself, but also how it's told. This conversation between Arjuna the warrior and Krishna, his charioteer.
Oh yeah, Krishna is not just, holding the reins. He's like this divine guide.
Exactly. And the beauty is that the guidance isn't some mystical mumbo-jumbo. It's deeply philosophical.
Yeah, it's like a framework for making choices when the stakes are high.
And those stakes, they couldn't be higher for Arjuna.
Right. Okay, so let's break this down. We've got Arjuna on the battlefield, completely torn.
Torn.
Between his duty to fight and his love for the people on the other side who are, his family and friends.
Oh, I can't even imagine that kind of pressure.
Right. Talk about a rock and a hard place.
Absolutely. And that's where Krishna steps in. He doesn't just give a simple answer, do this or don't do that.
He goes deeper.
Much deeper. He starts unpacking the nature of action itself. It's like he's saying, hey, this whole situation is painful, but how you choose to act within it, that matters. Let's explore that.
Okay, so how does this relate to karma yoga, this idea of selfless action? I mean, is it just about being a good person, helping others?
Well, it's definitely not about being a pushover or ignoring your own needs. Karma yoga is much more nuanced than that. It starts with a fundamental shift in perspective, and this shift is beautifully captured in a famous verse from the Gita, chapter 2, verse 47.
Ooh, Sanskrit. Sounds a little intimidating.
It would sound intimidating, but trust me, it's worth unpacking.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
All right, the verse says, Karmanye vadhikaraste phaleshu kadachana.
Whoa.
Right? But each of these words, they hold a key to unlocking a more fulfilling way to live.
Okay, I'm ready to unlock.
Great. So Karmanye vadhikaraste, this part emphasizes your inherent right to act, to make choices. It's like the universe is saying, hey, you get to play in this game of life. You have agency.
I like that, agency.
But then the verse pivots. Phaleshu kadachana, it reminds us to not get fixated on the outcomes, on what we think should happen as a result of our actions.
Oh, I think we all struggle with that.
Right, we all do.
Tell me about it. I'm like the queen of stressing over things I can't control. Work deadlines, relationships, even planning a vacation, it's exhausting. So is this verse basically saying just chill out and let things happen?
It's not about apathy or becoming passive. It's more about recognizing that attachment to specific outcomes often leads to anxiety, frustration, and sometimes it even prevents us from taking action in the first place.
Like Arjuna on the battlefield.
Exactly. Frozen because he's terrified of the potential consequences.
Right. That's not helpful to anyone.
Not at all.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to see how this connects to Arjuna's dilemma. He can't control who wins the war, but he can choose how he shows up, right?
That's it. That's the beauty of this verse. It doesn't tell Arjuna what to do. It reframes how to approach action.
Karmanye vadhikaraste acknowledges his agency, his power to choose.
Yes.
And phaleshu kadachana encourages a detachment from the results. That sounds, liberating.
It is liberating.
But how can letting go of wanting things to go a certain way be freeing? Doesn't that make you indifferent?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of why karma yoga is often misunderstood. Detachment, it doesn't mean we stop caring about the outcomes.
Okay.
It's more about shifting our focus to the process itself, to the quality of our actions, rather than getting all tangled up in the mental drama of what if, or I'll be happy when.
So it's not about becoming emotionless robots.
Not at all.
It's about acting with intention and letting go of the need to control the results.
You got it. And this applies to so many aspects of our lives. Think about a time you were stressed out over a work project. Assessing over every detail, worried about what your boss would think.
Tough, yeah.
Now imagine approaching that same project with the same level of effort, the same dedication, but without that crippling anxiety about the outcome.
Definitely the second one.
Right.
But honestly, that's easier said than done. How do you actually cultivate that kind of detachment?
That's where the real practice of karma yoga comes in. It's about training your mind, just like you train your body in, physical yoga.
Ah, so that's why it's called yoga.
Exactly. And just like with any training, it takes time, effort, consistent practice.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Are we talking meditation retreats, chanting mantras? Because I'm not sure I'm quite there yet.
No need to book a flight to India just yet. The beauty of Karma Yoga is that it's accessible to everyone.
Here and now.
Here and now. And the Gita itself offers some surprisingly practical guidance on how to put these principles into action.
Okay, I'm all for practical guidance. Actionable steps.
Well, remember how we talked about Arjuna's dilemma? The Gita doesn't just leave him hanging with this abstract concept of detachment. No, Krishna goes on to explain how this principle can actually guide Arjuna's choices on the battlefield. And the cool thing is, these same principles, they can apply to our battlefields too.
Our battlefields.
Whether that's a tough conversation, a creative project, even just dealing with the daily grind.
Okay, this is getting really interesting. So how does detachment actually play out in Arjuna's situation? And how can we learn from that?
Well, one key takeaway is that selfless action isn't about becoming passive or ignoring your responsibilities.
Right.
It's about choosing to act with intention, in alignment with your values, but releasing the need to cling to a specific result.
So it's not about Arjuna throwing down his weapons and saying, peace out, I'm detaching myself from this whole war.
Not quite.
It's more about how he approaches the fight itself.
Exactly. It's about shifting his internal state from, fear, anger, attachment to outcomes to a place of clarity, purpose, a willingness to act in accordance with his dharma.
Hold on, you said dharma. That's another one of those Sanskrit words that always trips me up. Can we unpack that one too?
Sure. Dharma is often translated as duty, but it's much richer than just blindly following rules. It's more about recognizing your unique place and purpose in the world.
Okay.
Think of it as your inherent talents, values, the contributions you're uniquely equipped to make.
Okay, so for Arjuna, his dharma as a warrior is to fight, but Karma Yoga is teaching him how to fight.
Yes.
From a place of detachment rather than ego-driven motives.
You nailed it. And that's where things get really interesting, because we all have our own dharma, our own set of values and skills that we bring to the world. The challenge is to act in alignment with those values, even when it's difficult, even when we're afraid, even when we don't know what the outcome will be.
Wow. So it's not just about Arjuna on a battlefield, it's about all of us.
It is.
Facing our own challenges, figuring out how to act in a way that feels true to ourselves, even if we can't control the results.
Precisely. And the Bhagavad Gita, through this story of Arjuna and Krishna, it offers a timeless framework for doing just that. It's about recognizing our agency, understanding our dharma, and acting with a detachment that allows us to show up more fully in the midst of, whatever battle we're facing.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I need a moment to process all this. This is heavy stuff.
It is heavy, but it's also incredibly empowering. And honestly, we've only just scratched the surface.
There's more?
Oh, there's so much more. We haven't even gotten to the practical side of how to cultivate this detachment, how to align with our own dharma, how to bring the principles of Karma Yoga into our everyday lives.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. But for now, I think our listeners, like me, could probably use a little mental break to let all this sink in.
A pause is a good idea. We've covered a lot of ground.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for understanding this Karma Yoga. We've got Arjuna, facing this impossible choice.
Right.
And Krishna offering this profound wisdom about detachment. It's powerful stuff, but I think where I get tripped up is how to actually bring this into my everyday life.
It can be tricky.
It's so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of to-dos and expectations, constantly striving for results.
I totally get it. And, the Gita was written thousands of years ago, but the challenges it addresses, I think they feel incredibly relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
We're bombarded with messages about achieving success, hitting goals, optimizing everything.
Yeah. It's easy to lose sight of the process,
The journey itself.
The power of just showing up and doing our best without getting caught up in what we think should happen.
Right.
So how do we shift gears? How do we move from that mindset of I'll be happy when, or if only this would happen, to actually embodying Karma Yoga?
Well, remember, Karma Yoga is a practice, a path, and the Gita doesn't just drop this theoretical bomb and then leave us to figure it out on our own. Krishna offers Arjuna, and by extension us, some very specific guidance on how to cultivate detachment and act from a place of intention.
Okay, I am so ready for some guidance. Give me the ancient wisdom.
All right, so one of the first things things Krishna emphasizes is the importance of self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
He's basically saying to Arjuna, hey, before you charge into battle, take a moment, check in with yourself.
Oh, okay.
What's motivating you? Are you driven by fear, anger, desire for personal glory, or are you acting from a place of clarity, purpose, and a genuine desire to fulfill your dharma?
So it's like a pre-battle pep talk.
Kind of.
But instead of hyping yourself up, you're pausing to get real with your motivations.
That's a great way to put it. And this applies to so many situations in our lives, even if they're not literal battles. Like, imagine you're about to have a difficult conversation with a colleague, a family member.
Oh, yeah?
Before you go in guns blazing, take a breath, ask yourself, what am I hoping to achieve here? Am I trying to prove a point, win an argument, protect my ego, or am I coming from a place of understanding, compassion, a genuine desire to resolve the situation?
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. But what about those times when we're like feeling trapped or resentful? Let's be real. Sometimes we just have to do things we don't want to do. Work, chores, obligations.
Right.
How does karma yoga apply to those situations? I can't exactly tell my boss, sorry, not acting in alignment with my dharma today.
You bring up a really important point, and this is where the concept of offering comes in.
Offering.
Krishna explains to Arjuna that even those seemingly mundane or unpleasant tasks, they can be transformed into acts of service. It's not about changing the external circumstances, it's about shifting our internal attitude.
Wait, are you saying that even something as simple as, like, washing dishes can be an act of karma yoga?
Absolutely. It's all about the intention behind the action.
Okay.
Think about it. You're standing there at the sink, feeling resentful, thinking, oh, this is such a chore.
Yeah.
But what if, instead of dwelling in that negativity, you choose to offer that act of dishwashing as a service to your family, creating a clean, harmonious space for everyone to enjoy?
Okay, so I'm not pretending I enjoy scrubbing pots and pans. It's about consciously choosing to shift my mindset.
Exactly, from resentment to one of service. And that's where the real alchemy happens. It's like you're taking something ordinary, even unpleasant, and infusing it with a deeper meaning, a purpose. And that, in turn, can transform the experience itself.
So it's like a mental magic trick.
You could say that.
I'm turning drudgery into a spiritual practice just by changing my attitude.
And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. It's like training a muscle. At first, it might feel awkward, forced, but with consistent effort, it becomes more natural, even enjoyable.
This is starting to make so much sense. But how do we know if we're doing it right? Are there like signs that we're effectively practicing karma yoga?
That's a great question, and the Gita actually offers some clues. Krishna tells Arjuna that one of the hallmarks of selfless action is a sense of inner peace and freedom.
Okay.
When you're no longer driven by the constant need for validation, external rewards, or the fear of failure, you tap into a deeper sense of contentment, joy.
So it's not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot.
No.
It's about finding a deeper sense of fulfillment that comes from acting in alignment with your values, your true nature.
You're free from the tyranny of your own ego.
Yes. You know, that reminds me of those times when I'm so absorbed in a project or activity that I completely lose track of time. Everything else fades away.
Ah, a state of flow.
It feels amazing.
And that's a perfect example of what it feels like to act from a place of selfless engagement. The more you practice karma yoga, the more often you'll experience that sense of flow, that effortless joy in the doing.
This is also inspiring. But I imagine there are still challenges along the way, right? I mean, shifting your entire mindset from ego-driven to selfless action, that can't be a walk in the park.
It's definitely a journey, a process of continuous learning and growth. And just like Arjuna on the battlefield, we all face moments of doubt, fear, temptation to slip back into old patterns.
So what do we do when those moments hit? How do we stay on track?
Well, first of all, it's important to be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up if you notice those ego-driven impulses creeping back in. It's all part of the process. The key is to simply notice those moments without judgment and gently redirect your focus back to the present moment and the action itself.
So it's like a dance between effort and surrender.
Beautiful way to put it.
We're striving to act in alignment with our dharma, but we're also letting go of the need to control everything.
Finding that sweet spot between action and detachment, effort and surrender, and the more you practice, the more graceful you become.
I love that analogy. But how does all of this tie back to the story of Arjuna? We kind of left him hanging on the battlefield, grappling with his dilemma.
Ah, yes. Back to Arjuna. Remember, he was torn between his duty as a warrior and his love for his family and friends on the opposing side. Well, through Krishna's teachings, Arjuna comes to understand that true selfless action isn't about choosing one side over the other.
Oh, okay.
It's about acting from a place of dharma while also letting go of the attachment to the outcome.
So it's not about abandoning his responsibilities.
No.
Or becoming a pacifist. It's about approaching them with a different mindset.
Exactly. Arjuna learns that he can fight with courage and skill, but without hatred or the desire for personal glory. He can fulfill his duty while remaining detached from the fruits of his actions. And in that detachment, he finds true freedom.
Wow, that's such a powerful lesson. It's like he's transcending the duality of, right and wrong, win or lose. He's finding a higher purpose in the midst of chaos.
Precisely, and that's the ultimate message of Karma Yoga. It's not about escaping the world or its challenges. It's about finding a way to act with purpose, with integrity, even in the face of adversity, recognizing that we all have a role to play, and even in the midst of conflict, we can choose to act in a way that elevates both ourselves and others.
I think that's something we can all relate to on some level.
Right.
We all face these dilemmas, challenges, but Karma Yoga offers us a way to navigate them with grace and wisdom. It's a path that's available to all of us, regardless of our background or beliefs.
Absolutely. It's a practice that can transform our lives and the world around us, one selfless action at a time. And it all starts with that simple but profound shift in perspective, from focusing on the outcome to focusing on the action itself.
Right.
From clinging to what we think shouldn't happen to embracing the present moment and doing our best with what is.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of action, purpose, even just how to approach my daily life. But I'm curious, what's the next step for our listeners? How can they start incorporating Karma Yoga into their lives, like in a tangible way?
Well, we've already discussed some key practices, like cultivating self-awareness, offering our actions as acts of service,
Right.
remembering that even mundane tasks can be transformed into spiritual practice. But I think one of the most powerful and accessible things you can do is simply start paying attention to your breath.
Your breath, what does that have to do with Karma Yoga?
Everything. The breath is our anchor to the present moment.
Oh, okay.
And as we've discussed, Karma Yoga is all about being present, engaged in the action itself. By bringing your attention to your breath throughout the day, you're cultivating a sense of mindfulness, presence, which naturally leads to more selfless action.
So it's like a mini meditation
Exactly.
that we can do anytime, anywhere.
Anytime, anywhere, no special cushions or chanting required.
Just a few deep, conscious breaths.
To help you recenter, reconnect with that inner stillness, and from that place of stillness, you can act with more clarity, compassion, and purpose.
I love that. It's such a simple yet powerful practice, and I think it's a great place to leave our listeners for now. But before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Karma Yoga. There's so much more to explore, to discover.
Absolutely. The Bhagavad Gita is a treasure trove of wisdom, and I encourage everyone to delve deeper. You might be surprised at how relevant and transformative these teachings can be. And who knows, maybe we'll even do a follow-up episode on Karma Yoga sometime down the road to dive even deeper.
I'm already looking forward to it. But for now, let's take a quick break, let all this goodness sink in, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts and takeaways. All right, so we're back, and I gotta say, this deep dive into Karma Yoga has been, a real game changer for me. I feel like I'm seeing the world through a whole new lens.
Amazing, isn't it, how these ancient teachings can still have such a profound impact?
So before we wrap up, let's try to, distill some key takeaways for our listeners. Like, what are some practical nuggets of wisdom they can take with them and actually apply starting today?
Well, I think first and foremost, remember that Karma Yoga is about shifting your focus from the fruits of your actions to the actions themselves.
Right.
It's about acting with intention, with integrity, without getting tangled up in the outcome.
We've talked about this a lot, but it really is the foundation of the whole practice.
It is.
Recognizing that we have control over how we show up, how we choose to act. But, we can't always control what happens as a result.
Right. It's about surrendering that need to micromanage the universe.
Exactly. And when you find yourself getting caught up in that mental drama of results, remember to bring your attention back to your breath. It's your anchor to the present moment, the only place where true action can occur, like a reset button for your mind.
I love that. The breath as an anchor.
So simple yet so profound.
Another key takeaway is the concept of offering. Remember, even those mundane tasks or unpleasant ones, they can be transformed into into acts of service. It's all about the intention behind the action.
Right.
By offering your actions as a gift to yourself, to others, to something bigger than yourself, you infuse them with a deeper meaning, a purpose.
So it's like that old saying, change your thoughts, change your world. But in this case, it's more like change your intention, change your experience.
Exactly. It's about finding the sacred in the everyday, recognizing that every action, no matter how small, has the potential to be an expression of love, compassion, service.
And finally, remember that karma yoga is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you slip up, you get caught in the ego's trap, you find yourself stressing over outcomes, feeling resentful.
It happens.
But that's okay. Be kind to yourself. Notice those moments without judgment and gently redirect your focus back to the path.
We're all works in progress. And that's the beauty of it. It's a continuous process of learning and growth. There's no finish line, no point at which we've achieved perfect detachment or selfless action. It's about showing up each day with the intention to practice, to do our best, and to keep refining our understanding of what it means to live in alignment with our Dharma.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on action, on purpose, even just how to approach my daily life. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. If our actions are ripples in the pond of life, what kind of ripples are you sending out into the world?
That's a beautiful question to ponder. Are your ripples creating harmony and peace? Or are they causing chaos and disruption? The choice is yours.
And remember, every action, no matter how small, has the power to make a difference. So choose wisely, act with intention, and let your ripples create a more beautiful world.
Beautiful said.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Karma Yoga. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. I hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as I have. Until next time, keep exploring, keep diving deep, and keep those ripples flowing.